Catch 'em all.
What's going on, guys? It's Irishlunatic here, and today I'm going to be showing you a few highlights from the recent Tourney Online Battle Competition. This Tiny Tourney was for Pokemon that stood less than a meter tall, or 3 foot 3 inches. It was a double battle, and transferred Pokemon were allowed, which was pretty cool. Entry gifts were Mega Stones for Gallade, Gardevoir, and Lopunny. No Mega Stones were allowed in this competition. So looking at the list of eligible Pokemon for this tournament, the list was pretty small, no pun intended. But I was looking through there and noticed that the Lake Trio was on there. If you aren't familiar with the Lake Trio, that consists of Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf from Diamond and Pearl. They're the legendary equivalent of the birds or the dogs from Diamond and Pearl, and they're my favorite legendaries. So I decided to go with those. And looking at their move pool and how they could work together, I noticed they all knew knockoff, so I decided to put together an all knockoff team. I figured it'd be fun to try to knock off the opponent's items. Since it's a tournament, people are definitely going to be holding items on their Pokemon, and I thought it would be just a pesky move to try to knock off their items and cause a little havoc. So I decided, since there was transferred Pokemon involved, I decided to bring over my Lake Trio from the original Diamond and Pearl. Took a little bit to move them over, but it's totally worth it. So the moves I decided to go with were Uxie was Adamant Nature, and so was Mesprit, and they both knew Knockoff and Acrobatics and Power Up Punch. Acrobatics, if you're not familiar, once the opposing Pokemon isn't holding an item, the power of Acrobatics doubles to 110, which is pretty cool for a flying type. So I thought it'd be a good strategy to try to knock off the item and then use Acrobatics to try to do some extra damage. And then I gave Uxie Heal Bell and Mesprit Zen Headbutt. And then Azelf, I made it Timid Nature. It knows Knockoff, Energy Ball, Flamethrower, and Dazzling Gleam. I decided to make it a special attacker, and I'll let you know why coming up a little later. And then I went with Amistar as another special attacker. It knew Knockoff, had Muddy Water, Blizzard, and Earth Power. And then Whimsicott was going to set up my Tailwind, so I thought it'd be a good strategy. Set up a Tailwind, double my team speed, use Knockoff, try to take off an item, then U-turn out, and then I taught it Toxic just because of the Prankster ability, and then I gave it the red card as the item. Now, my final Pokemon, I went with Muk, the Alolan Muk. It's a pretty cool ability on Alolan Muk with the power of alchemy. If you aren't familiar with the power of alchemy, what it does is it takes on a fallen Pokemon's ability. So if one of your ally Pokemon faints, the Alolan Muk takes on that ability. So I thought it'd be cool, since the Lake Trio all have Levitate for their ability, that Muk, if it took on Levitate, would almost be unstoppable, seeing how its only weakness is to ground, since it's dark poison type. So I taught it Knockoff, Poison Fang, Brick Break, and Rock Slide, and then of course I gave it the Black Sludge item. So now, this first battle, you can see there's a Katarna on the opponent's list there. So when making this team, I knew that everybody was going to use a Katarna. It was the only Ultra Beast that was eligible for the Tiny Tourney. So looking at the base stats for Azelf, it's slightly faster than a Katarna. So I figured if I made it a special attacker, which Katarna is weak in special defense, and it's 4 times weak to fire, if I taught it Flamethrower, maxed out its speed, and gave it a Focus Sash, there's a chance I could take out pretty much every Katarna that I faced in this tournament, and there were several. So now they're going with the Katarna and the Sylveon lead, and I'm going with the Whimsicott Uxie. So with Whimsicott, I want to set up the Tailwind right away. That Katarna is so fast, it hits me with that Smart Strike, double weakness on that Whimsicott, and it's down. But it did set up the Tailwind, which is what I wanted. But now that Katarna has a Beast Boost, which is going to make it a monster. So I definitely want to bring in the Azelf and try to take it out in one shot. So Uxie there knocks off the Choice Specs on Sylveon, He's going to tank that hit. Uxie was good to set up with at the beginning because it's super bulky in both defenses and it can absorb a lot of hits while it's setting up the Tailwind. So now I bring in the Azelf, definitely going to use Flamethrower since it's 4 times weak on that Katarna. I'm going to take it down in one shot, which is pretty nice because it already got that beast boost and attack. Didn't want that thing to stick around. So I'm going to try to use Power Up Punch on Uxie. I know it's not effective, but I do get the attack boost. That's mainly why I put it on these two, Mesprit and Uxie. So it's going to go for the Hyper Voice there that turns it with Pixelate ability. It's going to turn it into a fairy move. It's going to do some pretty good damage. So now Hippopotamus comes out and it's going to set up the Sandstorm and try to slowly take down my energy, but I'm holding Energy Ball on Azelf. It's going to one-shot that Hippo and get him out of there. That's pretty nice. So that's 2 down. Going to use the Acrobatics after the Power-Up Punch, and it's not holding an item. It does pretty good damage, but that's pretty bulky Espeon there. Or Sylveon, sorry about that. So now, Azelf goes down because it's got pretty weak defenses. And Uxie's going to stay up just barely with that Sandstorm damage. And then it's going to get a little bit back from leftovers. So now I'm going to bring in my Muk. And this is where things are going to get a little interesting. Hindsight's always 20/20. And I second guess my moves in this match. And you'll see why coming up. So this Excadrill is going to get a speed boost. And the Sandstorm, it's going to use Iron Head. Definitely take that Uxie out. So now you can see there, Power of Alchemy. Muk takes on the Levitate ability, which is pretty nice against that Excadrill. So I'm going to go with the Poison Fang, one-shot that Sylveon right there. I was thinking at the time, should I use Brick Break or Knock Off against that Excadrill? I really should have tried to get rid of that Excadrill before the Sylveon because it really didn't have much to hit me with. So now it's just me and the Excadrill left with my Muk. He's going to get that Iron Head. It's going to do a lot of damage. He's holding that Life Orb there. I'm going to get Knock Off and almost take him out, but he stays up. So I'm going to absorb a little bit of damage there. He doesn't have that Life Orb at this point, so I think I might be able to take a hit here and maybe take him out. And I stay up with just one, but I flinch right there, and that's the game. The Sandstorm's going to take me out. No flinch there. I definitely would have taken it out with the next Brick Break, and that's game. Now, this next match, looking at the opponent's list, I kind of had a sneaky suspicion they would go with a Trick Room setup. Maybe something sneaky with the Munchlax there. Possibly a Belly Drum, I wasn't sure. So I decided to put my tankier Pokemon out first. So I went with the Alolan Muk and the Uxie. They're a little stronger and bulkier in defense. And he goes with the Porygon 2 and the Purgly. So now Porygon 2 is going to trace my Levitate. That's going to be interesting. So pay attention here. So get the Fake Out. Use the Power Up Punch, which is effective against Porygon 2, and I'm going to get that attack boost. And of course, Alolan Muk's going to flinch. And then there's the Trick Room from the Porygon. So I had a feeling that they might go with the Trick Room. So like I said, I put the bulkier ones off. So now, next round, I use Knock Off on Purgly. That does a massive amount of damage. If you aren't familiar, if they're actually holding an item, Knock Off does double the damage. So it's a pretty stout move, especially with the stab from the Alolan Muk. So I knock off that Eviolite off of that Porygon 2, which is nice because now it'll be easier to hit and take down. It's going to use the U-turn there, didn't see that coming, and it's going to send out the Munchlax. Now with the Trick Room set up, this Munchlax is definitely going to go first. I'm a little worried about what it's got up its sleeves, but this is where things get a little interesting. So, Munchlax's going to use the Belly Drum. It's going to max out its attack there. Of course, it's got Gluttony. It's going to eat some sort of a berry and gain its health back. That's usually pretty standard with the Munchlax or the Snorlax with Gluttony. He's going to get all of its health back with its Figgy Berry. I'm going to use Knock Off. I missed the Figgy Berry, obviously, so it doesn't do that much damage. It's going to use Foul Play. So now Uxie's down, and Power of Alchemy is going to kick in, and the Alolan Muk is going to obtain Levitate. Now this is pretty important. So I'm going to bring out the Azelf, or Mesprit. Yep, brought out Mesprit in this one. It's going to have Levitate as well. So Munchlax goes first, uses Earthquake, and all 3 Pokemon affected on the field currently have the Levitate ability, which I don't know if that was a misclick or what, but I'm definitely going to take that Munchlax pretty much out with the Brick Break. Foul Play should tank this one just enough. I used my power-up punch on Munchlax, had to get rid of that thing. Max attack, even for a little Munchlax, is pretty scary. So that's the Munchlax down. Now, he's going to bring out the Purgly again, obviously to use a Fake Out on his first turn. He's going to use Fake Out, hit it on my Muk, going to make him flinch. Porygon 2 is going to go with the Foul Play. That's definitely going to take out the Mesprit. So, now that's 2 down for me, and 1 down for the opponent. And now the Trick Room has wore off. I was basically stalling and buying time to bring Azelf in there because it's got pretty high speed. Didn't want it to be stuck in that Trick Room and go last. So I use the Dazzling Gleam, do damage on both of them, take that Purgly out. It's going to keep hammering away with that Foul Play. That's going to do a lot of damage. Azelf doesn't have much for defenses. Gonna hit it with the Brick Break, take it down a little bit more, recover that health, and now the Porygon Z. One of my favorites of all time. Got an amazing special attack stat. I'm gonna use the Dazzling Gleam, try to get damage on both. I'm gonna try to hit it with the Brick Break since it's super effective. He's gonna go with his Z move. It's Z move Conversion. Conversion, you take on the ability of your first move. So he takes on the electric ability. So he transforms into electric type. He's going to try to hit me with a Zap Cannon or a Thunderbolt or something here. I can see it coming. He's got this Thunderbolt, takes Azelf out. I'm going to use the Brick Break, take him out, and that's game. This next battle, looking at the opponent's list there, I was a little worried looking at that Comfey. I know it has the ability to set up a lot of things and heal opponents and HP and status, things like that. So I was a little worried about that. So I was definitely going to want to lead with Muk in this one and Whimsicott and try to set up that Tailwind. I was a little worried for the Lake Trio. They would take a lot of damage from this lineup. Trainer Andreas, he's going to start with a Comfey Sylveon lead. And like I said, I'm going to start with the Whimsicott Muk. Going to try to set up that Tailwind and then just try to hammer these two with as much poison as I can. I've got Poison Fang on the Alolan Muk. It's a pretty neat move. It only does 50 damage, but it has a 50% chance of toxic poison, which is pretty cool. Came in handy a lot in these tournaments. So he's going to start with the Moonblast and the Toxic on my Whimsicott, and I'm going to hammer away with the Poison Fang. As you can see right there, Toxic Poison. It's pretty nice, does a lot of damage. But it's holding the red card and it's going to kick me out of the battle. It's going to drag Azelf out. So, not too worried about that. Got some good damage on the Sylveon. Set up the Toxic on the Poison Fang. So now, with Whimsicott, I'm holding the U-turn move. So, I just want to knock off Comfey's Life Orb and then use the U-turn. Get Whimsicott out of there, put the Alolan Muk back in, because I had a feeling that neither one of these would really attack Whimsicott, because it's not much of a threat offensively. So I thought it might be a good chance to get a free sub in on this turn. And I was right. The Comfey is going to use that Floral Healing. It's a pretty cool move. Heals a lot of the damage back on his HP. It's going to hammer away with that Shadow Ball from that Sylveon. And now my Muk got a free sub in, which is pretty cool. Tailwind still set up, so I should be able to do some pretty good damage here. So Azelf's going to go first. It's going to use that Flamethrower. Does decent amount of damage. That Comfey is pretty bulky. I'm going to hammer away with that Poison Fang and almost take it out, but it's not quite enough. He's going to use Aromatherapy to heal the poison from his team, but it's almost a little too late. Once again, it's going to hammer away with that Shadow Ball from that Sylveon. That's going to be plenty to take out that Azelf. That critical hit really didn't matter. So, Power of Alchemy, it's going to obtain the Levitate ability on the Alolan Muk, which is really nice. Really like that ability. It was a lot of fun using the Alolan Muk. I think I'm definitely going to use it in the future. He was a lot of fun. So I'm going to use a knockoff against the Sylveon. It's going to be enough to take it out. I'm going to go ahead and hammer away with Poison Fang. Doesn't have that good of defenses, and it's definitely going to take the Comfey out, which is good. Now, get a little bit of Black Sludge. Tailwind peters out there, so now we're back to normal speed, and this Raticate always has me a little worried. I am carrying some fighting type moves, so I should be able to do pretty good against it. Porygon Z is going to download there and get a special attack boost. And then, of course, the Alolan Raticate goes with the Sword Dance. So now this thing's really got me scared because I know it's carrying Sucker Punch. They always are. I'm going to try to do a little bit of damage there. It's not quite enough to take it out. I do get the attack boost. Of course, it's going to eat its berry. It's going to regain a bunch of health. And now it's in a scary position because I know the Sucker Punch is probably coming next. And I only have attacking moves on these two. So I'm a little worried at this point. So here it comes, Sucker Punch. Oh, but it misses. And Porygon Z goes with the Thunderbolt. Oh, that Alolan Raticate's got to be upset at this point. That definitely was going to be enough to take me out. Going to use the Brick Break. I was worried Azelf wouldn't be around, so the Brick Break from the Alolan Muk was definitely enough to take out that Raticate. Whew, had me worried there. So now it's down to 2-on-1. Things are pretty much going to be over at this point. It's going to use a Dark Pulse here. It's going to hit that Mesprit, do some good damage, take it out. I'm going to use the Brick Break, definitely finish off that Porygon Z, and that's game, set, match. So for the last battle, I'm just going to speed it up pretty quick. I hope you enjoyed watching the Tiny Tourney. If you did, drop a comment, let me know what you thought. And thanks for watching.